Max Kessler had always believed the universe was more bark than bite. As a xenobiologist stationed at the Earth-Moon Research Nexus, his days were filled with analyzing soil samples from Mars, cataloging microfossils from Europa's icy crust, and arguing with artificial intelligences about whether a dust pattern qualified as life, or just something that happened to move once. In short, it was a career built on patient, meticulous science, and the deep, nagging suspicion that humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence would be boring. He was wrong. It was a Tuesday when everything changed, because of course it was. Tuesdays, in Max's experience, were when the universe liked to throw its most absurd surprises. It had been a Tuesday when the Mars rover had accidentally run over the first microbial mat they'd ever found. A Tuesday when Earth's first faster-than-light probe had turned itself into a black hole, the size of a grapefruit. And now, apparently, a Tuesday when the sky itself decided to bark. Max was halfway through his third cup of lunar-grown coffee when the alarm blared through the laboratory. Alert, unidentified vessel entering Earth's atmosphere. The station AI Artemis had the calm tone of someone announcing a sale on soy milk. Trajectory, Sol 3, North America, Western Hemisphere. Non-hostile energy signature. Audio transmission detected. Max blinked, spilling a bit of coffee onto his data pad. Run that again, Artemis. Did you say vessel? Correct, non-terrestrial. Origin, unknown. He froze. For a scientist whose job was to hypothesize about life elsewhere, hearing the words non-terrestrial spoken aloud in a lab wasn't just exciting. It was epoch-defining. Humanity had received signals before, but all had been either random bursts of cosmic noise or the disappointing hum of pulsars. This was different. This was direct. Play the transmission, he said, trying not to sound as nervous as he felt. A crackle of static filled the room. Then a low, rhythmic sound, almost like panting. A series of yips, then a drawn-out howl. Max frowned, adjusting the filters. Slowly, the noise began to coalesce into words, crisp, clear English with an odd, guttural cadence. Human, I am Zoroth of Canid 7. Prepare your domicile. We must speak. Max stared at the speaker. Did that message just bark at me? Affirmative, Artemis replied. Also, it appears to be en route to your coordinates. Landing zone. Kessler backyard. 6 hours later. Max stood barefoot in his backyard, staring at the night sky over New Mexico. It was a clear, starlit expanse, serene, infinite, and utterly unprepared for the sleek, silver craft currently roaring toward his house. Artemis. He muttered into his wrist communicator. I still don't understand why my domicile is the rendezvous point. Statistical probability suggests their signal was directed to the nearest xenobiological authority with a suitable neurocognitive profile. The AI replied cheerfully. That's you, Max. Lucky me, he grumbled. The craft descended silently, defying gravity with unsettling ease. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built. A smooth, organic shape, like a teardrop woven from liquid metal. It hovered for a moment, then gently landed on Max's vegetable patch, flattening his prized tomato plants into sauce. The hatch hissed open. What stepped out made Max question not just biology, but the entire definition of life. The creature was quadrupedal, about the size of a large wolf, but with a regal, deliberate gait. Its fur shimmered with shades of indigo and silver, catching the starlight like strands of fiber-optic cable. Its eyes, amber and unnervingly human, scanned the surroundings with a mixture of curiosity and authority, and most disconcerting of all, it had a tail that wagged. It padded forward and sniffed the air. Then, to Max's astonishment, it spoke, not with its mouth, but directly into his mind. Human, I am Zoroth, ambassador of the Canid Collective. You must prepare. Max took a step back, heart racing. You're a dog. The creature's ears flicked back in mild offense. I am not a dog. I am a member of the Varan line, direct descendants of the Canid protospecies from which your domestic animals diverged millennia ago. Our evolution took a different path, one guided by intelligence, not servitude, right? Totally different, Max said, glancing at the wagging tail. Except for, all the dog stuff. Zoroth sat, curling their tail neatly around their paws. Humans are amusingly literal. Our species chose this form long ago. We value loyalty, cooperation, and the pack bond, concepts your ancestors once understood well. It is no accident we resemble those who walk beside you. Max's mind raced. This was it, the contact moment scientists had dreamed of for centuries. And it was happening in his backyard with an alien space dog, whose species apparently shared ancestry with Earth's canines. The irony would be legendary. "Okay," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You've made contact. You've traveled across the stars. What now? Are we negotiating peace? Sharing technology? Forming an alliance?" Zoroth's gaze locked with his. There was a gravity there, not threatening, but deeply serious. And then, with the solemn weight of a diplomat delivering a historic declaration, they said, "You should prepare, human. We're having puppies." Max blinked. "I'm sorry. We're what?" The ambassador's explanation. Zoroth tilted their head, as though surprised by Max's confusion. "It is the next phase of our mission. The Canid Collective does not merely form treaties, we form families. The bond of family is the highest and most sacred form of alliance. You have been chosen. Chosen. For what exactly?" Max asked, panic creeping into his voice. "Because I feel like there's a crucial translation error happening right now." "There is no error," Zoroth said. "Your neural pattern is compatible. Your instincts, curiosity, loyalty, empathy mirror our own. Together, we will create the next generation. They will inherit the strengths of both our species." Max's mouth opened, then closed. He was a scientist. He had faced countless bizarre concepts before, but nothing in his academic training had prepared him for an alien dog declaring interspecies family plans. "Okay, hold on," he said, rubbing his temples. "First of all, I'm a human. You're not. Second, I don't even know what you mean by having puppies. Third, and most importantly, my mother is going to have so many questions." Zoroth blinked slowly, a gesture that might have been the Canid 7 equivalent of a smile. "All will be explained. But know this, Max Kessler, this is not a biological union. It is a bonding of consciousness. Through it, we will birth not merely offspring, but a future." The wind rustled through the desert grass as the words hung in the air. Max stared at the alien, his mind a jumble of disbelief and reluctant fascination. In the distance, coyotes howled, a strange, primal chorus beneath the starlight. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the panic and confusion, Max felt a spark of something else. Curiosity. Because for all the absurdity of the situation, one thing was certain: first contact wasn't going to be boring. And so began the strangest partnership in the history of two worlds, one built not on conquest, or trade, or diplomacy, but on the promise of puppies. Max woke the next morning convinced that the previous night had been an especially vivid dream, brought on by too much instant ramen and caffeine. After all, no sane universe would send an alien dog diplomat to his backyard with a promise of puppies. And yet, when he stumbled into the kitchen bleary-eyed and barefoot, there was Zoroth, curled up on the floor like a house pet, tail gently thumping against the tile. "Good morning, human," the alien greeted telepathically, rising to all fours with dignified grace. "I have prepared tea." Max blinked. "You made tea?" "I scanned your dietary preferences and replicated the appropriate liquid infusion. It is suboptimal compared to the hydrosynthesis of Canid 7, but it should suffice." Sure enough, a steaming mug of something floral sat on the counter. Max sniffed it cautiously before taking a sip. It tasted like chamomile and ozone. Not terrible, all things considered. Then the memories came flooding back. The landing. The telepathic message. "We're having puppies." "Oh God," Max muttered, slumping into a chair. It wasn't a dream. The collective's proposals. Ruth padded over and sat across from him. An oddly human gesture, though the tail wagging gave the scene an almost comical air. "Human," they began. "We must speak of the resonance." Max sighed. "Right, the thing where we have puppies. You're going to have to explain that. Slowly, preferably using words that don't make me sound like I need to buy chew toys." The alien's amber eyes softened, their tone shifting to something almost reverent. "On Canid 7, reproduction evolved beyond mere biology centuries ago. Physical offspring still exist, of course, but the true legacy of our species is mental lineage. Our children are not simply born, they are woven. Max repeated. Yes, through resonance, the fusion of compatible consciousnesses. We imprint aspects of our minds into newly forming neural matrices. The young emerge with not only genetic traits, but memories, instincts, even fragments of personality from their progenitors. Max stared blankly. So brain puppies? Zorath's ears flicked. A crude but not entirely inaccurate description. However, the process requires two elements: biological material from our side, and cognitive resonance from a compatible mind. And that's where I come in. Max guessed. Correct. Your neural pattern resonates unusually well with ours, a rare phenomenon. Together, we can create a litter that embodies the best of both species. Intelligent, empathetic, loyal, and curious. Hold on. Max put down his tea, rubbing his temples. How did you even find me? There are 8 billion humans on this planet. Zorath's expression shifted. Amusement, maybe. The collective has been observing Earth for centuries. Our research suggested humanity was approaching the critical threshold, the point where cooperation surpasses competition as the dominant survival strategy. We have been searching for the individual who embodies that future. You, Max Kessler, were chosen. Max let out a disbelieving laugh. Me? I'm a mid-level xenobiologist who lives alone and accidentally killed a cactus last month. Exactly. Zorath said. Your flaws make you adaptable. Your isolation makes you curious. And your compassion, demonstrated by your refusal to kill the spiders in your shower, confirms your suitability. Max groaned. I knew leaving those spiders alone would come back to haunt me. The arrival of authority hopes Max had of keeping the situation quiet evaporated by mid-afternoon. First came the government. A convoy of black, windowless vehicles rolled up his dusty driveway. Agents in charcoal suits fanned out, scanning the perimeter with handheld devices. A woman with steel gray hair and a badge that simply read Director Ames stepped forward. Dr. Kessler, she said, shaking his hand firmly. I'm with the Global Alliance for Extraterrestrial Relations. We're here to facilitate the diplomatic protocols. Of course you are, Max muttered. I suppose this means my tomatoes are now classified? Top secret, she replied deadpan. Then came the scientists. Representatives from the United Nations Scientific Council, the Interstellar Biology Commission, and 3 different universities appeared within hours. They were followed by journalists, philosophers, and inexplicably, a celebrity chef who claimed to specialize in cosmic cuisine. And through it all, Zorath remained perfectly composed, answering questions with calm precision and occasionally wagging their tail. When a human displayed politeness. By evening, Max's quiet home had transformed into an interspecies summit ground. His backyard hosted an array of tents, sensors, and communication arrays. His kitchen became a makeshift negotiation room. And Max himself, still wearing the same rumpled t-shirt from the night before, was now the de facto liaison between Earth and the Canid Collective. A treaty unlike any other at sunset. The first official dialogue took place. Max sat at a round table beneath a canopy of stars, flanked by Director Ames and several world leaders. Zorath stood across from them, regal and unflinching. Ambassador Zorath, began President Liu of the Pacific Federation, we are honored by your presence. Before we proceed, we must clarify your intentions. Is this resonance project a form of colonization? No, Zorath replied. Colonization implies dominance. We seek partnership, one built not on treaties alone, but on family bonds. A shared lineage ensures loyalty deeper than politics. There was a murmur among the delegates. The concept was unprecedented. Alliances had always been forged through trade, treaties, or in darker times, conquest. But family? That was something new. And these offspring, Director Ames pressed. What role would they play? They will be ambassadors, living bridges between our species. They will inherit both your creativity and our collective memory. They will learn, grow, and lead you into a shared future. Max raised a hand. And just to clarify, they're not going to, eat anyone, right? Zorath's ears twitched. Only if you are made of steak. The table erupted in uneasy laughter, but the ice was broken. By midnight, the first draft of the Canid-Human Accord was signed. It promised mutual technological exchange, shared exploration initiatives, and, most importantly, the co-creation of a new hybrid generation, with Max Kessler officially appointed as Guardian Prime of the Resonance Project. The first stirring night was quiet after everyone left. Max stood in his yard, staring at the stars. Somewhere up there, beyond the reach of human ships, was Canid 7, a world of endless meadows, crystalline skies, and beings who saw Pac as more than just family. And now, somehow, he was part of their future. Zoroth approached silently, sitting beside him. "You seem troubled," the alien observed. "Wouldn't you be?" Max sighed. "Yesterday I was trying to figure out if a Mars fungus sneezed. Today I'm apparently co-parenting the next stage of evolution." Zoroth's gaze turned skyward. "It is natural to fear the unknown, but you must understand, this is more than science. It is destiny. Together, we will build something neither species could achieve alone." Max was about to respond when he felt it, a faint ripple in his mind, a warmth like the first flicker of a distant heartbeat. Thoughts that weren't his own brushed gently against his consciousness, curious, playful, new. He gasped. "What was that?" "The first resonance," Zoroth said softly. "The litter is stirring," and as Max stared into the vast expanse above, he realized something profound. Humanity's first step into the galactic future wouldn't be walked alone. It would be paws and feet, side by side. Max had never been a father. He'd never even owned a houseplant for more than 6 months, a shameful truth that, in hindsight, probably should have disqualified him from co-parenting a new species. Yet here he was, 3 months after signing the Canid-Human Accord, pacing nervously inside the resonance chamber while the most ambitious experiment in the history of both worlds unfolded. The chamber itself had been constructed beneath the New Geneva Science Complex, a sprawling facility carved into the Swiss Alps, blending human engineering with Canid 7 biotech. Its walls pulsed faintly with living fiber optics. Pools of glowing biofluid hummed with quiet energy. At the center lay the cradle, a shimmering sphere of translucent membrane where thought and biology wove together. Inside that sphere, they were forming, vitals steady, said Dr. Lian Cheng, Earth's leading neurogeneticist, peering at the monitors. Neural lattice expansion holding at projected rate. Cognitive imprinting has begun. Zoroth stood beside Max, their fur glinting under the soft blue light. "They are listening, Guardian Prime. Even now, they reach for you." Max swallowed hard. What should I do?" "Speak," Zoroth said simply. "They will hear." Max hesitated. He wasn't sure how to speak to beings who didn't technically exist yet, but he took a deep breath and stepped closer to the cradle. "Hi," he began awkwardly. "I'm Max. I guess I'm going to be your dad, or maybe your guide. Honestly, we're still figuring that part out. But I want you to know that you're already loved, and when you come into this world, I'll be here. We all will." The biofluid pulsed brighter in response. 5 distinct points of light swirling within the membrane, like stars being born. "They heard you," Zoroth murmured, "and they accept you." A new dawn's birthing process was nothing like human childbirth, nor purely biological at all. Over the next 6 weeks, the cradle slowly opened like a flower, revealing 5 small, glistening forms suspended in nutrient mist. They were canine in shape, yet undeniably different, for that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Delicate humanoid hands beneath their forelimbs, eyes that seemed to see beyond physical space. They were not born crying, they were born thinking. "Hello, Guardian," a chorus of 5 voices whispered directly into Max's mind. "We are here." He nearly collapsed under the weight of it. 5 minds, newborn yet impossibly aware, each radiating warmth and curiosity. Tears pricked his eyes as Zoroth stepped forward, tail wagging with quiet pride. "May I present the first litter?" the alien announced, voice trembling slightly with emotion. "Ori, Kesh, Luma, Fen, and Jax, the first of the resonant generation. They were astonishing. Within hours, they learned to walk. Within days, they mastered speech, first telepathically, then verbally, their voices melodic and strange. By the end of the first week, they were reading human languages and exploring simple mathematical concepts. By the second, They were asking questions that left even the world's smartest scientists speechless. Why do humans destroy what they love? What is loyalty worth if it is not tested? Do we belong to one world or two? It wasn't just their intelligence that amazed Max, it was their personalities. Each one was distinct. Ori, the eldest, was curious and fiercely protective, often shadowing Max like a guardian. Kesh was the analytical one, obsessed with technology and physics, constantly disassembling devices just to rebuild them better. Luma radiated empathy, often comforting anxious researchers before they realized they needed it. Fen was mischievous, forever sneaking out of the lab to chase drones across the courtyard. And Jax, the youngest, was contemplative and philosophical, often spending hours staring at the stars in silence. Together, they were more than just a scientific breakthrough. They were family. The World Reacts news of the first litter spread across Earth like wildfire. Some hailed them as the next step in evolution, the children of tomorrow. One newspaper called them. Others were less enthusiastic. Protests erupted in major cities. Religious leaders debated their place in creation. Conspiracy theorists warned that the puppy hybrids were the first wave of an alien invasion. People fear what they don't understand. Zorath said one evening as he and Max watched a report of riots in New York, on Canid 7. The first resonance were also feared, but in time, they became the foundation of a united world. Max nodded but felt the pressure mounting. The first litter were only a few months old, yet they were already symbols of hope, of fear, of possibility, and they were growing fast, both physically and intellectually. If humanity wasn't ready to accept them now, what would happen when they reached adulthood? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. The test it started with a break-in. A rogue faction known as Humanity first infiltrated the New Geneva facility one night. Intent on destroying the cradle and erasing the abominations, they never reached it. Before the alarms even sounded, Ori and Luma sensed their hostile intent through the psychic resonance field. They moved as one, silent, swift, coordinated, disabling the intruders without causing lethal harm. Kesh hacked into the facility's defense systems mid-attack, sealing exits and alerting security. Fen distracted them with illusions, flashes of light and sound projected directly into their minds. Jax simply spoke to them. "Why are you so afraid of us?" the young hybrid asked the ringleader as he knelt in defeat. "Because you'll replace us," the man spat. "No," Jax said softly. "We were born to stand beside you." The incident made global headlines, and for the first time, public opinion began to shift. People saw not monsters, but protectors, children who defended even those who hated them. A conversation beneath the stars that night. Max found Jax alone on the observation deck, gazing up at the Milky Way. The young hybrid's fur glowed faintly in the moonlight. "You were brave today," Max said quietly. Jax didn't look away from the stars. "I wasn't brave. I was sad. They hate us, and they don't even know us yet. Fear is louder than understanding," Max said. "But you're changing that. All of you are. Do you think we'll ever belong?" Jax asked. "To them, to you?" Max thought for a long time before answering. "You already do. Belonging isn't about blood or species. It's about choice. And I choose you." Jax turned to him then, eyes shimmering with something Max recognized, hope. "Then we choose you too, Guardian." And in that moment, Max understood something profound. This was no longer just a scientific project or a diplomatic experiment. It was family, a family unlike any other in the universe, bound not by biology, but by love, trust, and a shared dream of what could be. The pack and the future weeks turned into months. The first litter continued to grow, physically into graceful, powerful beings, and intellectually into thinkers and leaders. They debated philosophy with professors, solved energy problems that had baffled scientists for decades, and composed music so hauntingly beautiful it moved audiences to tears. Yet for all their brilliance, they never stopped being puppies at heart. They played, they wrestled, they stole Max's socks and begged for snacks. They curled up beside him on quiet nights, their soft fur warm against his hands, and slowly, humanity changed too. The protests grew smaller, the fear grew quieter, and the dream, a shared dream of a future where paws and hands shaped the stars together, grew stronger. But the journey was far from over. Whispers spread of other Canid vessels approaching Earth, fleets bearing emissaries from distant worlds. Rumors hinted that the first litter would soon leave their home and step into a galaxy that had been watching them closely. For Max, one thing was certain: the day the sky barked was only the beginning. The future had awakened, and it had 5 wagging tails. 3 years had passed since the day the sky barked. 3 years since a shimmering silver vessel landed in Max Kessler's backyard and turned his life and the course of human history upside down. Now, as he stood on the observation deck of the Unity Spire, Earth's first joint human-Canid orbital station, he could hardly recognize the world below. Nations once divided by greed now collaborated on planetary initiatives. Conflicts that had raged for decades were cooling. Science had leapt forward by centuries in myriads. And humanity, stubborn, chaotic humanity, was finally looking up, not just out. The stars were no longer distant. They were calling, and the first litter was answering. The ambassadors of a new Ajori, Kesh, Luma, Fen, and Jax had grown into extraordinary beings, not just in stature, but in spirit. Standing over 6 feet tall on digitigrade legs, they were a seamless fusion of human intellect and Canid instinct, their first sleek and luminous, their movements graceful and deliberate. They were not children anymore. They were ambassadors, scientists, philosophers, and above all, leaders. Today, they stood at the heart of a moment that would define an era: the signing of the Galactic Accord, a monumental treaty that would mark Earth's formal entry into the Canid Collective, and, by extension, the wider galactic community. Representatives from over 50 alien civilizations had gathered aboard Unity Spire, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves: crystalline beings from Tau Cygni, gaseous floaters from the Perseus Cloud, and serpentine scholars from the Hydrian Spiral. Humanity had never dreamed of such a gathering, and at the center of it all stood 5 beings born from 2 worlds, the living bridge between species. Max watched them from the balcony, pride swelling in his chest. They moved with a quiet confidence, addressing diplomats in dozens of languages, weaving together cultures with diplomacy and warmth. They were everything he had hoped they'd be, and more. "Are you ready, Guardian?" a familiar voice asked. He turned to find Zoroth beside him, their once vibrant fur now streaked with silver. Age had softened the ambassador's gait, but their eyes still burned with the same amber light that had first stared into his backyard soul. "As ready as I'll ever be," Max said with a nervous chuckle. "It's not every day your kids lead humanity into the stars. They are not your children." Zoroth teased gently. "They are our children." Max smiled. "Yeah, I suppose they are." The rising storm, but even as the galaxy prepared to embrace Earth, shadows stirred below. Despite the progress, not everyone accepted the new reality. Radical human supremacist groups, once fractured and marginalized, had begun to unify under a single banner: Terra Puritas. Their message was simple: humanity first, last, and always. And they had a plan. 2 hours before the signing ceremony, an encrypted message reached Unity Spire's security network. Its contents chilled every system analyst who read it. "The hybrid experiment ends today. Humanity belongs to humans. Purity above all." The warning was too late. At 1400 hours, as dignitaries filled the Grand Hall, explosions rocked the lower decks. Emergency sirens blared. The station's gravity stabilizers flickered, sending diplomats tumbling as automated shutters sealed compartments. Panic rippled through the assembly. "Breach in docking Sector 7. Barked a voice over the comms. "Multiple armed intruders. They're heading for the main hall." Max's blood ran cold. "They're coming for the litter." The pack risest hybrids reacted instantly. Ori barked commands with military precision, organizing panicked delegates into secure zones. Kesh overrode the compromised security grid, sealing off bulkheads and cutting off the attackers' escape routes. Fen and Luma led rapid response teams through maintenance shafts, intercepting hostiles before they could reach the central chamber. But Jax, ever the philosopher, had a different plan. "Guardian," he said through the comm link, "I'm going to talk to them." "Talk to them?" Max nearly shouted. "They're trying to kill you. They're trying to kill what they fear," Jax replied calmly. And fear is best defeated not by force, but by understanding. Before Max could protest, Jax slipped away. Confrontation Sector 7 was chaos, debris, smoke, alarms. A squad of masked extremists moved through the corridor, carrying makeshift pulse rifles. Their leader, a scarred man with cold eyes, barked orders as they advanced. Push forward. We end this abomination here. And then Jax stepped into their path. He held no weapon. His hands were raised. His amber eyes glowed softly in the half-light. Why? He asked quietly. The leader froze. What? Why do you hate us? Jax took a slow step forward. Is it because we are different? Because we were born of two worlds? You're unnatural, the man spat. A threat to everything we are we? Jax tilted his head. We love, we learn, we protect, we cherish. Is that not what humanity does too? You'll replace us, the man hissed. We'll become obsolete. No, Jax said softly. We will elevate you. Together, we can become more than either of us could alone. But only if you let go of the leash of fear. Something in his voice, something ancient and instinctive, slipped past the man's hatred. His weapon wavered. And then, one by one, the other extremists lowered their rifles. Security forces swarmed in moments later, detaining them without a shot fired. Jax exhaled slowly. It is done. The signing hours later, the Grand Hall was restored. The damage had been contained, the perpetrators arrested, and the ceremony resumed. But something fundamental had changed. When the time came for the signing, it was Jax, not Max, not Zorath, who stepped forward to address the galaxy. Today, he began, his voice echoing across the chamber. We choose not to fear the unknown, but to embrace it. We choose not to cling to the past, but to build the future, together. Our pack is larger than we ever imagined, and it grows still. To our new family among the stars, we are ready to run beside you. And with that, the Galactic Accord was signed. 5 paw prints and 5 fingerprints pressed into the crystalline tablet. Side by side, humanity had joined the pack. Epilogue, the run beyond the Starsmans later. Max stood once again on the balcony of Unity Spire, watching as a colossal vessel prepared for launch. Its hull gleamed with human alloy and canned bioengineering. Its engines powered by technologies once thought impossible. Etched into its prow were 2 words, in English and canned glyphs alike. Run together, Ori. Kesh, Luma, Fen, and Jax were boarding, not as passengers, but as leaders of Earth's first joint expedition beyond the solar system. Their mission, to explore the distant worlds of the collective, to forge alliances, to seek new life not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals. Zorath approached quietly, standing beside Max. Do you remember the day we met? They asked. How could I forget? Max smiled. You flattened my tomatoes and told me we were having puppies. And now, Zorath said, eyes on the departing ship, those puppies are leading your species into the galaxy. The engines roared. The ship lifted gracefully into the black, a trail of silver light cutting across the void. Max watched until it disappeared among the stars. They'll be okay, he whispered. They are pack. Zorath replied. And the pack always finds its way home.